In fact, the OMB has become the de facto planning board for Toronto and for other cities in the province. But it is not set up to do planning. This is my evidence. Because it looks, by its very nature, at each application on a one-off basis in a highly adversarial environment. It cannot structurally consider the cumulative effects of multiple developments in its decision-making or how the various pieces fit together. So, no surprise, we get these kinds of results. I want to put this in perspective. Most other cities in the world, including other Canadian provinces, do not do planning this way and do not have anything like the equivalent of the OMB minder function. This is a highly problematic and, in my experience, unique institution. It remains a symbol of the immaturity of the City of Toronto. It is distorting the entire planning process in Toronto. Misallocating resources. You heard Councillor Giamproni describe the 12 staff who were required to work on this hearing, a 39-day hearing. I would venture a guess that the amount of effort, money, and time spent on the hearing far exceeded any work that was done on creative planning for this area. It saps energy and produces persistently poor outcomes. City decisions are undermined, which has the result that staff and council are increasingly traumatized by looking over their shoulders at what the OMB may do and find it really difficult to do real planning or to take their own decisions seriously, knowing that they don't have the final word. Planning resources are skewed and misdirected. A veritable industry has grown up around the OMB. Enormous amounts of money are spent not on design or planning, but on fruitless gladiatorial contests. For developers, very often the practice is now to hire the lawyer first before the architect. Lawyers' fees exceed design fees, typically. I'm not making this up. This is the truth. Architecture and landscape architecture are downplayed. Design fees are shortchanged. Highly inequitable treatment occurs based on access to resources and power. This particular community has enormous access to professional advice. Imagine those disadvantaged communities in the city that don't have this. They're in even worse shape. It produces great uncertainty, cynicism. In this litigious atmosphere, the wrong issues lead. We have the strange anomaly that because of the peculiar rules of the OMB, we're not allowed to talk about design because it's described as subjective, as evidenced by the very words of the ruling in this hearing. But in fact, design is precisely what people want to talk about, not in the abstracted pseudo-technical numerology and language of the OMB, but in terms of real impacts on actual places and neighborhoods. The whole process frustrates constructive conflict resolution. So let's ask ourselves, how does it work elsewhere? In most other Canadian and US jurisdictions, for example, either directly or through some kind of arm's length planning board or commission, real decisions in big cities get made at the municipal level. Because of that, they're taken seriously. There's an ability to do real planning, to talk about urban design, to talk about all the things that people want to talk about. We often talk in this country about the successes of Vancouver or Montreal or even increasingly Calgary. You only have to look south of the border in similar situations where cities have worked extremely successful, just to take this one case, at fostering new development in and around arts and cultural communities in those cities, to see how painful the comparison is. I think it's the feeling of many of us that Toronto deserves much better. Isn't this the time to use this outrageous example to really mount a challenge to the OMB's domination of the city's ability to think about its future. This decision could not make a more powerful argument for the abolition of the OMB and the creation of a more workable planning structure. The Queen West Triangle decision is not a freak occurrence. Toronto will keep losing as long as this situation persists. Thank you.